So there appears to be a hole in Trump's left hand. And I'm looking at this photo here. I want to get your thoughts on this also. Trump just made a public appearance with Zelenskyy of Ukraine. And every time he makes an appearance, right, you look at the dude, what's going on with him physically and mentally. You can see the photo right there. Is there something wrong with his hand? His other hand, the right one, clears to have makeup on it / painted, however you want to say it. Aaron then says, Trump looked pretty rough today. Note that both of his hands are discolored, okay? Someone was then drawing pictures on the left hand. I'll be curious if you guys agree or disagree if that's a hole. I'm looking at it here. I can see, I guess you could say, a mark in the upper one right there. The other ones, I don't know if there's anything that I would read into that. That's just my opinion, but I'd like to hear you guys also on this. Bill says, the rot in his soul is finally leaking outwards, maybe. And then I guess Kramer's saying that's a shame. I want to show you this also, because again, we're talking about both Trump's physical and mental health, and today really exposed him more than normal, which he keeps exposing himself. It's hard to keep stuff secret, right? From Trump and the White House. I just had a good and very productive telephone call with President Putin of Russia prior, right? So he calls Russia his boss and his buddy before meeting with Ukraine. Prior to my meeting at 1 p.m. today with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, the meeting will take place in the main dining room of Mar-a-Lago. Press is invited. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT, and I showed you guys before in the last video how he kicked out the press and said, go get the food. Yeah, the guy's whacked out, I know. Trump then said today also, Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. And this is Tom. Tom says, Trump actually said this. This might be one of the stupidest things he's ever said in a true Hall of Fame entry. Greg responds, Putin has the Epstein files. It's the only explanation for Trump's endless groveling, subservience to the Russian dictator. Tom replies, that's not it. And it's needlessly complicated explanation for what is simple problem that Trump is just afraid of Putin and respects and admires him at the same time. Well, I want to go through more of this because I'll just say this. Trump really exposed himself today, as I mentioned before. Listen to what he says when he's talking about Zelenskyy, and I'll explain in a moment here.
So I just want to say we've done very well. We've had discussions on just about every subject, and that includes with President Putin before. And we went into great detail, and we likewise went into great detail today. And it was an honor to have you at Mar-a-Lago and have lunch. I hope you enjoyed the food. Your people enjoyed the food, I can tell you that. You're big, strong people. Your general over there looks like central casting. I want to also, by the way...
And the reason why I'm pointing out this, because again, Trump shows you who he is exactly. He's just talking about the food. Oh, did you like the food? The food is good, blah, 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 right? And whenever you have a effectively state meeting at your residence, at your property, you're profiting off said stuff, right? Right? You want to have events at Mar-a-Lago, which is frankly, corruption. You guys know this stuff. He does this stuff all the time. And then you start talking about central casting, which is basically Trump views this whole thing as a big TV show for him, right? It's a big grift. It's a TV show. Oh, you're general, and then you're all handsome people, just like casting. That's the way I would have cast it. And we've talked about this stuff before, where he is going to pick the next, Fed chair, and he's concerned about people's smile, people's hair. There's been reports on that. He'll take, meetings and it's like, oh, well, I like that person. I like the way that they look, or I don't like that way that person looks on camera. He just sits around and watches Fox News all the time, and basically he's making a TV show. This is why things turn out the way that they do. And then Trump, as your great, peacemaker, deal maker, whatever, listen to what he says here.
Had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer.
2 hours, right? What are they talking about? And the thing with Trump, because again, he exposed himself every day, he's easy to manipulate. Putin just can come in and say, oh, well, you can build a hotel here, you can build a hotel there, we'll split up the minerals here, and then your companies get what they want, my companies get what they want. And I just want you to understand, like this is complicated because everyone's trying to manipulate Trump all at the same time because he's so easy to manipulate, right? You just promise him whatever gold award and promise, whatever money in hotels and golf courses, and he'll go along with it. And so that's why the policy in the USA always seems kind of strange. It's not really working for the American people. It's working well. All the manipulators are manipulating Trump because Trump's so easy to manipulate. It's an easy way to describe it.
You, in the past, have suggested a trilateral meeting between both Presidents Putin and Zelenskyy. Is
Right.
that something that is also on the docket?
I see that happening, sure, at the right time. I saw a very interesting President Putin today. I mean, he wants to see it happen. He wants to see it. He told me very strongly. I believe him. Don't forget, we went through the Russia hoax together. And he'd call me, I'd call him, I'd say, can you believe the stuff that they're making up? And it turned out we were right. They made it all up. And despite that, we didn't get into wars or we didn't get into problems, but we weren't able to trade very much or any of that, which was a shame because, you know, a lot of success could have been had by trading with Russia. They have great land, great minerals and other things, and we have things that they want very badly. But the Russia hoax, which was a terrible made-up fictional thing by Crooked Hillary and by Adam Shifty Schiff and bad people, sick people, they made it up. It was all a made-up hoax.
I mean, it's sick, it's stupid, it's funny all at the same time because the guy is such an obvious moron and obviously being manipulated. And what's sad, you know, you're always curious what do people think about this. It's like, just listen to what he said. Yeah, I called Putin. Putin said everything's great, and I believe him. Okay. And then whenever Trump talks about, oh, I hate our CIA and FBI, fire everybody, right? Oh, it's all Crooked Hillary's fault, right? It's just so obvious what's going on. And all I have to do is just show you who they are. And if you want to be a rational, sane person, you can see it as well. And the choice is up to you. But this is literally who these people are. And also I want to show you too, this is the Bank of America talking about Trump's policies. It's actually quite interesting. Listen to this.
The president has announced that he wants all these sweeping changes to the Federal Reserve. Chair Powell is set to retire from the job in May. How much does that job matter to the consumer? How do you explain that?
Well, it's one of the interesting things. So the president's going to appoint a new chair of the Federal Reserve. He's got great candidates. He'll appoint somebody, and we'll help that candidate get the information, be successful, and so we'll see what he does. But that's his prerogative. You know, he should do. There's, in my mind, there's too much fascination with the Fed. We're a country that's driven by the private sector, by what people do, and in the businesses and the companies, small companies and large companies, medium-sized companies, and entrepreneurs and doctors and lawyers. All these people drive our economy. The idea that we are like hanging on the thread by the Fed moving rates 25 basis points, it seems to me we've gotten out of whack. And so we got to get, since the financial crisis, the Fed had a big role in stabilizing the economy. That's what they're supposed to do. That went away a number of years ago. It came back a little bit in COVID. They're a lender of last resort. They're there to stabilize markets and price. But other than that, you shouldn't know they exist, quite frankly.
So you don't worry about all this, you know, hand-wringing of political interference with the Fed once that new position is.
The market will punish people if we don't have an independent Fed, and everybody knows that.
And again, this is the Bank of America CEO basically saying the market will punish you if we don't have an independent Fed. And why am I showing this right now after all of the Putin stuff? Because you have to understand there's a lot of interest at stake here. Basically, remember, Trump's whole goal is to put money in his pocket, and everyone's trying to manipulate him. So on one hand, Putin's like, Trump, you got to do this, and I really, really want to help Ukraine, so let's divvy it up together, right? And then on the other hand, you got markets saying, Trump, if you just like completely run the economy off the cliff, if you remove independence in the Fed and just start printing up like nonsense, man, the market's going to punish you. And so then Trumpers then will go to his advisors, and all his advisors are a bunch of greedy individuals, and they all have their own personal interests. And this is why you see like this completely disheveled policy every day and just absolute chaos, because no one's necessarily in the Trump administration working for the American people. They're all in it for themselves, right? And they're easily manipulated. I want to make that stuff clear. Check this out too. This is also their plan to try to get people to vote for them. Listen.
Should Americans plan to receive those checks in 2026?
That's going to depend on what happens with Congress. Congress is going to have to send those money to those peoples. But the thing we can say is that since July, we've had a lot of positive news about the economy. We've had a couple of quarters of almost 4% growth. We've got a big government surplus actually running for a few months in a row. The deficit relative to last year is down by $600 billion. And so in the summer, I wasn't so sure that there was space for a check like that. But now I'm pretty sure that there is. And so I would expect that in the new year, the president will bring forth a proposal to Congress to make that happen.
So a new proposal for these, it's not necessarily coming from existing tariff revenue?
Oh, well, it could come from tariff revenue, but in the end, we get taxes, we get tariffs, we get also revenue from lots of places, and then Congress decides how to spend those monies. That's an appropriation. And so this would have to be money that would be an appropriation.
So don't bank on it, in other words.
So why am I showing you this? So basically they're floating out this $2,000 check thing. They want to get their followers thinking about that and ignoring the corruption, because this is how the game is played. For the average American, they don't have time to watch all this stuff all the time. They don't have time to track everything. There's all these mixed messages out there. But if you go out with very simple messaging, hey, we're going to give you $2,000. People's like, oh, wow, $2,000. I like $2,000, right? They can understand that. It's easy for them to understand. But if you give them a more complicated explanation, where like, hey, Trump is destroying your healthcare. Hey, Trump is destroying your education. Hey, Trump is making a business environment difficult. There's a lot more bankruptcies. Like, it gets too complicated for people. People are just like, all right, just give me that $2,000. I just want that $2,000, right? And then the check may or may not come. Who knows? But the point I'm trying to show you guys is that there's a lot of corruption at the top, and it's sad that the Americans fall for these cheesy tactics of the 2,000 check that may or may not come. And I know once you bring that up, people get so excited to write in the comments, oh, where's that check? Where's that check? You don't care about Americans, Chris. Donald Trump cares about Americans. He didn't give us all a check. But again, I want you to see the full picture on this stuff. How about some more? This is the Bank of America CEO talking about the current situation.
How much of a toll has that taken on small businesses? I understand B of A is the largest small business lender.
So we're the largest small business lender, and if we were sitting here in the second quarter of this year, it was a big toll. They were because rates have gone up, and that costs them more money because they borrow on revolving lines of credit. In other words, they borrow at floating rate. And then the tariffs came in and caused them, I'm not sure I can get the goods at what price and how can I commit. But as you went through the year, rates came down a little bit. So their issue right now is, can I get the labor I need to do to bid the contracts to do the work I'm doing? Because the immigration policies haven't settled in yet, and that's causing people concern. It's not that they agree with them or disagree, they just need to have the answer, and that's what they're looking for. So if you think across 4 policy regimes, tax, trade tariff, immigration, and then ultimately deregulation, you've seen a resolution of a lot of them, but I think the next one for a small business, what they tell us is labor availability. How they get there is, I need people to do this work, and I need to be dependable. They're here. So give me a set of rules, and I'll go play with them, but I need to be clarified of what the rules are.
So that was the Bank of America CEO basically describing the current landscape for business in USA. And this is why you're seeing a lot more bankruptcies pop up. And I told you guys in the last video on that. And so essentially what I'm telling you is that Trump's policies, again, are all about putting money in his pockets, about building hotels and golf courses, and not working for the American people. And this is why you get insane amount of chaos. And then when Trump comes out in public and basically tells you who he is, it then all adds up and makes sense. So watch this. This is more.
Yeah. So in your conversation with President Putin, did you discuss what responsibility Russia will have for any kind of reconstruction of Ukraine post an agreement?
I did. They're going to be helping. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once, it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices. So a lot of good things came out of that call today. But they were in the works for 2 weeks with Steve and with Jared and Marco and everybody.
And as you can see, Trump reveals his hand right there. He's like, oh, well, I just believe everything Putin says. Putin says he really wants Ukraine to succeed, even though Putin's attacking Ukraine. And then he's like, oh, well, you know, there's Jared and Witkoff and Rubio, and they're doing deals with Russia. We're all going to build those golf courses and hotels. And again, just hopefully it's really clear. This is why the country is the way it is in USA, where everything's in chaos. It's hard to do business. It's hard to make sense of any of this stuff. Because Trump and his people, who he just named, right, his people, his son-in-law, his personal friend in Rubio, are trying to do business deals and divide up Ukraine, get those rare earth minerals, whatever, and please whatever donors that Trump has to please, and please whatever masters that he has to please as well. I hope this guy is all clear and makes sense. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Please be safe out there, and I'll catch you all in the next video.